My fiancée age 32 doesn't want me, age 28 male, to talk to her best friends at all before marriage. We have been dating since the last 2.5 years, and those 2.5 years has been mostly public. Public in the sense that both me and her like to post pictures or reels of ourselves from vacations or times together, and we were very clear that we were in a relationship on Instagram. However, she doesn't have many real-life followers from office or personal life on her Instagram. She has around 7 or 8 really good friends who she meets on a regular basis and one cousin. We are both matured adults and decided to get married in the coming year in 2024 November or December since we started dating. So I thought it would be better if I introduced her to my family too last month, so I took her consent and decided to meet with my family at a good restaurant in the city. My family got to know her and they liked her and decided to fix the date for our wedding. But my GF said it would be too early for her to get married this year, so we eventually decided to fix the marriage date for February 2025, 6 months from now. Usually in my city, it's a requirement to book the marriage halls early enough so that you get a proper hall. So I took her consent and discussed with my family and booked a hall for marriage. Few days later she also went and booked a hall for her side of the party. It is normal to have parties from both bride and groom's side in our culture. Basically, so far I have made her meet my family and one female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her BF, and both of the meetings were proper well-planned meetings. She also met maybe another friend of mine accidentally in the mall. I however have never met her friends in that manner. Only once or twice I met some friends by accident as I was driving my GF somewhere, and 2-3 of her friends also hopped in and we just spoke a few words as we traveled in the car. But her friends were aware that we were dating, of course. Now a strange incident happened last week which left me really confused. It was a text from a friend of hers on Instagram. Before this I had never spoken to this friend of hers except for only once, a year back, when my GF wasn't talking to me as we had a fight, and so I texted this friend of hers and asked her politely to talk to my GF once as she is a good friend. She said okay, I will surely talk. And also I texted her friend only because I felt my GF back then was going through a lot of things and probably she would need a friend to discuss properly as she had a huge financial loan etc., and even had a fight with me and her family for some reasons. Shortly afterwards I got a call from my GF regarding me DMing her friend on Instagram, and she asked me very angrily to never talk to her again. To which I was surprised, but I complied as our relationship wasn't so stable back then and I gave her space to settle. And after a while that day, I got a message from her friend saying hey sorry I can't help you in this, and she blocked me on Instagram. I was okay and didn't react back etc., so this was last year's incident. Now this same friend texted me suddenly last week as she was not able to reach my GF over call and she was tensed as what was going on. I politely replied back saying hey she's alright, probably busy with office work, I will inform my GF that you are trying to reach her. I called my GF and said her friend called, to which she was like, oh lord, what, why does she have to text you, please block her on Instagram. I found it very weird to block that friend and immature at the same time. So I told her I won't, so my GF told me that if I want then her friend will. Few moments later I saw I was again blocked on Insta by her friend. Actually this time around it made me a little angry and I ended up texting her on her other Insta handle and told her, hey how are you doing, I didn't like what you just did and this is not a very respectable way to talk to someone. I also wrote if your husband has some self-respect he should also not text my girlfriend when you guys are having issues. Then she replied saying hey my husband, me and her were in her life much before you came to her life. After which I politely explained that I didn't mean to break their friendship and only wanted to make their bond better and just felt disrespected for being blocked twice when I wanted to just talk to them once or get to know/meet them. So she didn't reply to this and informed my GF, and my girlfriend again came out angrily and was very angry with me as I referred her friend's husband. I felt that was the only logical way to express myself. I was serious about her and made her meet my family and friends. She had no family members, her parents also passed away and cousins live in other countries or far away now, but her friends would be the ones who would be present at our wedding from her side. So I expected her to take me a little more seriously and maybe not ask her friends to block me, at least on Instagram. She often visits this female friend's house and sometimes they have sleepovers and sometimes even parties with this friend and her husband in their house, birthday parties or some other reason. I never got to properly go out or meet any of her friends in an official go out/meet kind of sense. I expressed her couple of times that your friend brings her husband and baby along in group meetings sometimes, so maybe I can also go along and meet them once. But she is strictly against this, and this blocking incident recently is seriously bothering me. My GF says my ex-boyfriends had bothered my friends earlier as well and I don't want these things to happen again. But this probably would have made sense to till maybe like a year back, but now we are going to get married in 6 months. Even now she's hesitant and says she will introduce me to them only after marriage. And also when she gets married these friends will probably have to help her make her side of the arrangement/duties as she has no one else. So I needed to talk to them as well for our upcoming wedding preparations. I haven't spoken to my GF since last 2 days because of this, and she also is saying she is unsure of the marriage now after I expressed this desire to meet her friends, and she says that I will be controlling in nature in the future. I feel she will text me or call me back soon. Am I asking for the right thing by asking her to introduce me to her friends? What should I do? What do they know about her that she doesn't want to take the chance that they might slip up on and mention to you? Yay, that's what I have been thinking all the time. Update 1. It's not been long since the blocking incident, but today I just got surprised to learn that my GF's mother, who she always has been referring as dead, is not really dead. So few weeks back the girl, her best friend, who is already married with 1 kid, just texted me to know the whereabouts of my GF as she was not able to reach her. My GF, on knowing that, instantly asked me to block her and I refused, but she then made that best friend block me, and the rest of the story is already there in the previous post. Since then I was not able to trust her. My GF has always been telling me that there is no one in her family. She said she was a single child and both her parents have passed away. She used to go to her countryside home every 3 to 4 months to visit her aunt, who she said was the only person living there, but it always seemed a little off. And every time she used to go there she used to stay for at least 2 to 3 days. There were other things which seemed off too, like whenever she used to get a phone call, her contact name used to show as Dad Home and a lady used to speak from the other end who she always used to refer as her aunt. My GF has already met my parents and we were supposed to get married in the coming February. My parents were hesitant about our marriage because they also didn't like this secrecy and the fact that my GF asked her best friend to block me. I just thought it to be generational differences and was trying to make my parents understand that maybe it's not that big a thing. But still my parents didn't like this relationship, and one day last week, they just went near my GF's office and asked a colleague of hers if she knew about her parents. But that colleague didn't know a lot about her family. I know this was not a right thing to do by my parents, but probably they could look at the suspicious things from an outsider's perspective and they just wanted to keep me safe. I tried to make them understand later that it's wrong to take these things in the professional space. They agreed not to ask there again, but also urged me to do proper research before taking a step towards marriage. So, I also tried to ponder upon my parents' POV and the whole situation from an outsider's perspective, and it was all making me grow impatient. My GF just wouldn't let me talk to any of her friends or relatives or follow them on social media. And the reason she used to give for not introducing to her family was that her family would never approve of her marriage, as inter-caste/inter-community marriages are still not quite accepted in some parts of India, but she always used to say how open-minded her parents were and that her whole upbringing was very modern, etc., and used to cuss my family for being suspicious and backward, etc., and she also used to say if her parents were alive today, they would have definitely come for the marriage. My parents liked my GF initially when they met her first time and were very happy about the marriage. My father even offered to sponsor the marriage expenses for her side as she wasn't doing great financially. But they got suspicious when she even made her best friend block me. So all these combined made me very suspicious, and I decided to visit her countryside village house today just to check. I went there acting I was looking for someone else, and when I knocked the door, her mother came out. I know it was her mother because my GF showed photos of her mother to me earlier. It was truly like encountering a ghost. She looked like a fit and fine woman with a smile on her face and just looking like my GF. My GF and I are not talking properly since the day my parents went to her office. She called my parents crazy and whatnot for doing such a thing and was angry and said people of my community are clever/cunning and crazy and do suspicious spying on people, but never accepted that she said such a big lie to our family. And while I admitted to her that it was wrong to ask at her office, but it's not right for her as well to talk like that about my family when she was acting all suspicious, asking friends and family to block me and faking her mother's death. I haven't spoken to my GF about this, and what should I make out of this really? This was a very huge lie, and I don't see a valid reason for this either. Her father, as I confirmed from locals nearby, had actually passed away, and her mother was living there with her aunt, who was living in a different house just on the adjacent block. I just want to know if there could be any valid reason or judgment that can be applied to this scenario, because I can't think of any. Her mother looked fit and fine to me. Roughly around 50 to 60 years of age. It's over. How could you ever trust her with anything after this? Look, I am sure you are a nice person, but this is many huge lies from her. You need to seriously wake up. Talk to your parents. Figure out a plan. But the marriage can certainly not go forward. Definitely don't marry her, this is bizarre behavior. But maybe ask her why? Like directly confront the issue. That's what I would do, while I was breaking up with her, that is. Break up, she's a liar, yeah, Uddy. I think you need to cancel everything. I see so many red flags. The gaslighting is also quite ridiculous. It's not worth it. Imagine you get married and she keeps on acting the way she is right now. Now on to second story. Dad denied my celiac disease, mocked my efforts to eat healthy, and now my friends think I have anorexia. My parents divorced when I was very young. My mom got me for most of the year, and my dad got me for the summer. I hated going to my dad's house. Partially because he was very stubborn and rude and always had to do things his way, but also because every time I went to my dad's house I got violently sick. Nausea, rashes, pain, muscle cramps, and then when I got older, I'd start missing my periods. TMI, I went to a doctor, but he said it was a psychosomatic problem related to stress and directed me to see a therapist. My dad didn't let me see a therapist because he thought it was total crap. My mom took me to one a few times, but by then my symptoms had cleared up so we couldn't tell if it helped at all. One thing that really pissed me off was that my dad ate a lot of junk food and drank soda instead of water, and he mocked me mercilessly if I tried to eat healthy. I think it reminded him of my mom, because she's always been a bit of a health nut. I would sneak carrots into the house, and if he found them he'd throw them out. At my mom's house, I'd eat vegetables and organic chicken. Sometimes a food would make me feel sick, but I'd just stop eating that food and it was fine. I got into the habit of turning down any food offered to me because I didn't know if it was safe. I just explained it away as being a picky eater. And then, when I was 16, a new girl moved to my school. I became friends with her, and after a couple months I noticed that she avoided all the same foods as me. I mentioned it in passing like, hey, isn't that weird? And she got concerned and told me that she had celiac disease and I should get myself checked. I got checked, and sure enough, I had it. Everything suddenly made sense. I was so excited to finally understand what was wrong that I told everybody I knew. I told all of the people who I thought were my friends. And they didn't really react well. They acted fine at first, but I noticed that they were all doing the slow fade on me. I confronted my closest friend about it and she said that they all thought I was faking it for attention. They'd only heard about gluten-free diets as a stupid fad. I broke down crying and told her all about how horrible I felt when I had to go to my dad's house and how I couldn't believe that she didn't believe me, and she was horrified. She turned around and became my biggest supporter. She talked to the others, but they still thought I was full of shit and feeding her lies, so we decided it was best to break it off with them. My birthday is in August, so I had 2 more summers with my dad left to go through after I found out. He took the revelation about my disease even worse than my ex-friends. He would scream that I thought I was better than him and I was making up medical problems because I wanted to be special and that he wouldn't put up with that shit. I offered to take him with me to the doctor, but he said that doctors are scam artists and he didn't believe anything they said. It was horrible. It got to the point where he started sabotaging my food and cursing at me when I got sick. So, I've gotten pretty wary about telling people about the disease. Between my personal experiences and hearing people make fun of gluten-free food on TV and the internet, I've decided I'm not comfortable with telling new people. I know that's cowardly, but I'm so afraid of what people will think of me. This is my last summer with my dad, and it's the last summer with my dad. He can rot in hell for all I care, he treats me like shit. I've only got to tough it out for another few weeks, that's not my problem. I can already hear your advice about leaving my dad's house or calling CPS, and respectfully, I've made my decision that it's easier just to stay for the next 3 weeks and then leave forever. Please don't focus on that part. This is the problem I need help with. My best friend and I have made a new group of friends. They're great people, really fun. We play role-playing games every weekend. We've been hanging out since May. There's 10 or 11 of them depending on whether you count this guy who doesn't regularly attend games. My best friend approached me yesterday and told me that the rest of the group has been talking behind my back. They've put together the fact that I constantly turn down food and that I'm very picky about what I eat and that I've been getting thinner and acting sick, because I've been living with my dad, and come to the conclusion that I have anorexia. They're planning on staging an intervention for me next weekend. Guys, I don't know what to do. This is such an awkward situation. I know I should tell them, but I'm so scared they're going to reject me. They've already got this idea in their heads about what's wrong. At this point I'm afraid they'll think I'm just making excuses. And I've been burned before. I lost a ton of friends by telling them about my disease. Yeah, they were dicks, but it fucking hurt. How do I do this? How do I explain it so they'll believe me? I can't handle any more people calling me a liar, I'll have a mental breakdown. This disease has ruined my life in so many ways, I just wanted to have this one part of my life separate from that. Update 1. A few hours before game started, one of my friends, let's call him Zach, texted me asking to come to his house. He hosts the games, early because he wanted to discuss gaming terms that will be nonsense to most of you. I figured this was probably the intervention and texted my best friend. I think there was some confusion in the last post. This is the friend who was with my other friend group who I pour my heart out to. Then she followed me to the new group. Let's call her Laura, to ask if she'd been invited too. She hadn't, so I asked her to come with me. Before I went to his house, I did something a little cheeky inspired by one of the comments on the last post. I went and picked up some gluten-free Chinese food from a place I frequent. They have this amazing vegetable fried rice that I've fallen in love with. They're really careful about cross-contamination. I've been eating there for years and never gotten sick. I brought the food with me to Zach's house, along with Laura and my notebooks and dice for role-playing. Zach seemed really taken aback that Laura was there. I asked him if he had a problem with it, because if we were going to talk about complicated gaming things, then she should be part of the conversation because of qualifications. I'm really sorry, I'm trying not to drop a crapton of gaming jargon on y'all. He awkwardly said that it was fine. Then I said something like, is it alright if I eat something while we do this? I missed lunch and I'm really hungry. And pulled out the Chinese food. He said it was fine but seemed kind of alarmed, like I was freaking him out. I started eating and he started his pitch. /you/help celiac, I didn't actually call you here to talk about game crap. Me and some of the others have noticed some things recently that we're concerned about and they elected me to talk to you about it. I said, okay. He listed off a bunch of things that I've been doing that made them worry about me. The way they never saw me eat anything, that I always seemed sick and was getting thinner, the fact that I always seemed uncomfortable and nervous when the topic of food came up, that I turned down everything offered to me, and then he finally dropped the bombshell. /u/help celiac, Michael's older sister is anorexic, and she acts a lot like you do. We think you might be anorexic. I swallowed my food and tried not to look nervous. I'm not. I told him. He started talking about how nobody thinks they're anorexic, but there's clearly something going on with me, and he started just rambling, so I cut him off. I do have a problem. It's not anorexia. Can I talk? He reluctantly agreed. I think he was afraid I was going to say that I was too fat and my problem was that I needed to lose weight or something. Like, he really got committed to the idea that I was anorexic. I'm going to try to paraphrase what I said here because I was very proud of myself for it. I know I'm losing weight in an unhealthy way, but it's not on purpose. I have a disease that means I can't eat grains like wheat, barley, and rye. When I do, I get very sick and my body starts ripping up my stomach and I can't digest much of anything, even things that don't have those grains in them. It's not just an allergy, it does serious long-term damage to me. If I ate a piece of bread, I would break out in rashes, I'd start throwing up, and I might get stuff that seems unrelated like horrible muscle cramps. When I turn down food, it's because you guys offer me stuff like Doritos and PB&Js. If I ate that stuff, it would make me violently ill. I turn it down to keep from making my health problems even worse. And the reason my symptoms have been popping up and I've been getting sick and losing weight is that right now I'm living in a family situation where I'm forced to eat the foods that my body reacts badly to. When I first met you guys I was living with my mom, and she accommodated me really well. But right now I'm living with my dad, and he sabotages my food because he thinks I'm making my disease up and that my doctor is a fraud. Zach took out actual note cards and looked through them. He literally had a script for the intervention. That's what I get for hanging out with the kind of dramatic people who play tabletop RPGs, I guess. He was quiet for a really long time. Then he had a few questions. 1. But then why do you turn down, like, Coke? Because Coke is nasty, but I didn't want to complain and make you guys buy root beer just for me. 2. Why didn't you just tell us this stuff? Laura took this one and explained what happened with our last friend group. 3. Okay, so like what would I probably have in the house right now that you'd be willing to eat in front of me? I wanted to facepalm at this one. I asked if he was serious. He was. I don't know, have you got celery? He shook his head. Yogurt? Nope. An apple? Nope. Seriously? He nodded. Have you got some freaking popcorn? Like, air-popped popcorn? That he did have. So I ate some popcorn in front of him, and he finally seemed to accept what I was saying. He awkwardly changed the subject to gaming things and we talked about that until the rest of the group started to show up. When Michael got there, Zach took him aside and started talking to him in a way that I guess they thought was subtle. They kept looking over at me and they weren't keeping their voices down very well. Michael asked if I seemed defensive and Zach shrugged and said not really. I pointedly ate popcorn for the rest of the game. Michael texted me after the game and apologized for assuming that I was anorexic and asked what snacks they could put out for me. I actually cried a little bit. I was worried about getting kicked out, but they immediately moved to accommodating me. They're nice people.